Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting. Today, my returning guest is a very dear friend now of mine, Susan Reynolds. She is an amazing karmic astrology is what you do, correct? Which is a lot
Yeah.
different than just the regular astrology. So I'll let you explain a little tidbit on what that is. And today we are going to be doing the predictions for the month of March and seeing what's coming up because I think that the energies have been really scattered lately, and it's great to be able to make sense of this. So welcome back, Susan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time last time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
fun.
yeah, I'm what's known as a karmic astrologer, and it's a little bit different because years ago when I first started doing my readings for people, for strangers that I didn't know instead of just family and friends, I was meditating and I spontaneously had a vision for the woman who was coming, and it showed me a past life, and it showed me why it was important to that woman. Did I ever tell you about that? Yeah. And so I told my client about it, and the life that I was seeing, I mean, this was like something out of a movie. I mean, cue the fog and the lights, like I was going down into
Wow.
something else. And I saw her life, and I saw her married with children, and in the Ireland, she was Irish, and they had like 7 kids, and then it went away. And I didn't know what to do with that. Do I tell my client? Do I not tell my client? This was in the 80s. And
Wow.
I finally decided I'm just going to tell my client because I had the vision. It was meant for her. I was going to tell her. But I
Mhm.
was a little embarrassed because I thought, could I not have been shown like an important life? Like she, was a swashbuckling pirate or a Civil War general, or, something with a little oomph there. And no,
Yeah.
housewife in Ireland. And I told my client what I had seen, and she started to cry. And she said, "Oh my God, that explains my whole life." And I could see the impact this had on her. I could see the change that was in her hearing this. And I decided, you know what, Susan, you just get out of the way. It's not up to you to judge this. You just let it come and tell your client. So when I read for clients now, I still go into a time of prayer meditation, and I still see visions for them. And then
Wow.
when we talk, I tell them, this is what I saw, and this is what I think this means for you. And
Mhm.
it explains our life lessons, our soul's purpose, why we struggle with certain things.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's a little bit different than just talking about your Venus is doing this or your Saturn's over here. You get that information, but you get a little bit deeper picture, I think.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. And yes, I definitely believe that, people are destined to meet in this life, especially people who have children together, even if it ends up in divorce or if it was a one night stand, there's a reason why that meeting came together in that moment to produce what is needed in this world, right? So yeah, that's very neat to be able to pull apart the connection through the other lifetimes.
So I think I probably work in a way that's similar to you. I establish a connection with my client.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I just kind of open the door. And yes, I may be talking about their chart, but just as likely a spirit guide may come in and be telling me things to share with them, or occasionally a relative who's passed on might show up. And I'm like, oh crap, what do I do now? And I
Wow.
will just do my best to share whatever I get, to be the interpreter, to kind of put myself out of it, and I'm just the interpreter. I'll just share whatever it is I get. And I'm often the most surprised person in the reading.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I kind of equate it to reading a book, and people ask me, is it the Akashic records that I'm reading? And I guess in a way it is, because to me it is like a book that I can literally flip back and forth in the chapters and see what's coming up and see what's behind them and make sense of the story of why this is going to happen in the future and stuff. So it's definitely all connected for sure. So,
Yeah.
let's see what's going on in the airways and in the ethers and all of that. For anyone who doesn't know what I do, I'm a professional remote viewer and psychic medium. I am not an astrologist, so it is fascinating to me what Susan does. And yeah, I would love to hear what the stars are saying for the month ahead, since it's March 1st today.
Well, I'm going to say buckle up because March is going to be quite a month.
I feel
We
that
have
too.
some major things happening or being kicked off this month. Some things are kicked off this month and then continue the rest of the year. Some things kick off this month and continue for the next several months. Some other things are happening this month, and that's only in the month of March. So it's almost like a perfect storm of astrological change. This month in March, we are going to see 6 out of the 10 planets make some changes. That's a lot. That's unusual. And many people, and especially the people that would come to you or come to me, they're more sensitive. I don't know how to describe that. Maybe they're tuned into their own self and their purpose a little more. Maybe they're just aware of others a little bit more. But some of these things that are actually kicking off this month, many of your viewers have sort of been sensing something, like something's in the air, or I feel like something's going to happen, or I'm ready to start making changes. That's because of the things that begin in March.
Wow.
Next week, in only 8 days, what's next week? Tuesday, Wednesday? We are going to have Saturn change signs. And this is a big deal because for the last 2.5 years, Saturn has been in Aquarius. And next week will be the first time that it moves out of that, and it's going to move into Pisces. And it's going to stay there the rest of the year. So this is a big deal.
So
It
what
is an
does that energy,
especially big deal.
what does
Yeah,
that
yeah.
energy represent? What, like when it's moving like that, I'm assuming it changes the energy on the planet.
Yes.
You frozen?
Saturn is the planet in astrology that deals with our career, our profession.
Okay.
Saturn is the planet of being an adult, being responsible, doing the right things. It's not always fun. Saturn is a planet that says eat your vegetables and floss after every meal. Things you may not always enjoy. But responsibility, it's not a bad word. We need Saturn in our charts in our lives if we're going to accomplish anything. We don't accomplish big things by dying around all the place.
Mhm.
So it is about adulthood. It is about authority. It is about achievement. These are important things. Now it is moving into Pisces. And Pisces is the sign that is all woo-woo and mystical and magical. And in Pisces, things are not clear. They're a little fuzzy kind of thing. But it's really hard to describe our connection to the divine or what our spiritual communication is. How do we describe that to somebody else? It's very unclear, and we struggle to find the right words. So, and this is astrology according to Susan. One of the things I think we're going to see this year is more and more people seek to find work that is meaningful to them in a spiritual way.
Mhm.
You're going to start to hear more people talk about, I want my work to make a difference, or I'm tired of just showing up at a cubicle 9 to 5. I want to do something that moves me or uplifts me. That's that Pisces energy. I was thinking about this, and I think later this year, I'm going to teach some kind of course or offer something about turning your passion into your profession,
Nice.
because we're going to see lots more people want to do that.
Yeah.
Lots more people becoming astrologers and card readers and saying, this means something to me and I'm going to do it. I'm going to work with it. I'm going to make it happen.
Mhm.
So for some people, that Saturn energy is going to be like a breath of fresh air. They're going to be very excited about it. Other people, it may be a little bit more challenging. Not everybody can leave corporate America and decide to read cards for a living and make that work. So I think we're going to see more people struggling with this. What is important to me in my profession? And so a lot of people in a lot of professions across the board are going to start to make changes. And I think we're going to see this out in the world. Now, you also have to remember that Pisces rules drugs. It not only rules illegal drug use, it rules pharmaceuticals and prescriptions. And Saturn can sometimes rule limitation. So here in the United States, our president just recently passed something that limits the drug companies' ability to charge way inflated prices for diabetic medication, which drug companies have been doing.
Mhm.
And so he also instituted a $2,000 out-of-pocket limit on pharmaceuticals to seniors. So that's, for me, I'm a senior, that's a positive way of seeing this restriction come in with this Pisces energy. So we're going to start to see different kinds of things. How do we make that real? Saturn is very down to earth, very real, but Pisces is all love and light. I had a dream last night. We just want to be up in the ether and feel good. And how do these two things come together in a way that we can make sense of? So in any kind of profession that is artistic, that is creative, that is spiritually based, that is imaginative, we're going to start to see those people ready to make some changes. I know I'm working on a new website for my business. I'd be surprised if you were not thinking about making some changes to what you do and how you do it between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And this is going to affect us all. Are you thinking about making any changes to what you do or how you do that?
Absolutely. I have been making some changes to my website and integrating a lot more courses, and I'm back doing retreats. And another really big thing, but I mean, this is coming up this summer for me. I'm heading out to Ireland on July 8th,
Yes.
and then I'm going over to England. I'm going to spend
Oh,
2 weeks in England as well. And I get to do a private tour of Stonehenge. I get to watch the sun
oh
come
my
up.
God.
Yeah, I got myself a private
I want
tour.
to hear all about this. I want to
Yeah,
hear
well,
all about that.
I'm gonna
Yes.
tape it all. I'm gonna tape it all, and I'm gonna do lots of lives from Ireland and England. I'm probably, if I'm allowed, I'm gonna tape record all of the sun coming up with Stonehenge. We got a private tour, so I'm super
Yes.
super excited about that. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of changes to my career that I'm going to implement this year. But the one thing also that I've seen a lot for clients, and and the energy that's out there, it does feel like a finishing year. This is a wrap up. 2023 is about opening brand new doors of opportunities as soon as we let go of what's no longer serving us. And some people are still having an issue with that. One of the things that I wanted to say when I did a little tune in for this conversation was the rising and the mounting of anxieties that's happening out there, anxiety and depression, and all of that rising to the surface. People, you need to realize, if you are feeling that, understand that some of that is universal energy that we are being bombarded with, because there are some really big M-class flares, solar flares, that are happening at the moment. On top of planetary alignments, on top of everything that's happening, that we're being bombarded with, man-made as well as natural, higher energies. It can feel like a lot. It can make you feel like you just want to shut down. So for anyone who's feeling that twitchiness in the body and feel like your insides are kind of going a little crazy, ground yourself. Ground yourself. Take a salt bath. Take some deep breaths, and whatever you do, don't stick your foot in your mouth, because it'll be really easy at this time to lose your mind on people and speak your truth, and then yeah, maybe have to take a step back from that. So just wanted to mention that too. What do you feel about that? Is there a mounting of anxiety that you're
I
seeing in the
absolutely agree with you.
stars? It's in the stars
I
as
agree with you
well?
100%, because yes, it is in the stars as well. This Pisces energy that I just mentioned, one of the
Yeah.
other things that it deals with is our mental and emotional health. It helps to rule psychology and therapy. And Saturn's very real, very grounded. So what's going to happen this year? So we're going to see a lot of people, I hope I'm wrong, but sort of struggling with their mental health. But
Yes.
what I like about this, I know that doesn't sound like too much fun. Saturn's very concrete and down to earth. So this is not the year where people are just going to say, suck it up. This is what life is. Just put one
Yeah.
foot in front of the other. This is the year that people say, no, I'm dealing with this. I'm going to talk to somebody. I'm going to see what my options are. I'm going to deal with whatever is bothering me on a mental and emotional level. So we are going to see a lot more talk in the news in different countries about famous people dealing with depression, about people who talk about dark times in their life that they always kept locked up inside, where it's almost, COVID was a time that changed the world. and
Yeah.
every country had to lock down or deal with it in their own way. And everybody worldwide moved into survival mode. They just had to survive. Literally, they had to find a way to live. This meant companies went under, divorces happened, people moved back in with families, but we didn't really have time to deal with the emotional consequences
Mm.
because we had to survive. What's the latest news? What do we need to do? Can we go out? Can we buy groceries?
Mm.
Now, this year, is when I think we're going to start to see that come up. We're going to start to see therapists talk about PTSD for the whole population, not just people who have maybe been in a war or the military or something like that. So we're going to see lots of talk. And if you are a therapist, if you're a counselor, if you are in any kind of business that deals with people's emotional and mental well-being, you're going to be overwhelmed with work this year. Your business is going to do well, but make sure you have somebody you can talk to, because I don't want to see the people who are helping other people go into burnout.
Yeah.
And so make sure you have some support and some help for you. It's going to be a wonderful year of sort of releasing and eliminating the stigma around depression or mental illness, or, stop hiding it and say everything is fine when we're turned up inside and suffering inside. So I absolutely 100% agree with you.
Yeah. Well, and I think
We're
that
going to see a lot of changes this year.
oh, for sure, for sure. And I think that, well, I know even for me personally, my depression and anxiety that I went through that, God, it was hard to keep breathing day to day. Um, it led to this. It led to the biggest discovery of my life that changed my life in such a way, that I look back and go, thank you, God, for that time in my life. Thank you for getting me through it. So if there's one thing that we need to do is honor our pain, honor where we're at, because the thing is that we attract the healing that we need. We will attract, that how do I explain this? That deeper connection to our spirituality. It comes out in our greatest time of need. It's usually when we're, on our knees that we finally look up and go, okay, how can I get this to change? What do I need to do to finally resolve the issues that plague me? And I know for me, when I did that, when I finally surrendered to the ultimate plan, I think it's about surrendering, right? We think we know what's best for us, but really, the universe has other plans, and if we learn to float instead of struggle against the current, that's when things get really good, when we let go and let God, Jesus take the wheel, however you want to word it. There's something to that ultimate surrender, that energy that comes over you, you know and so, yeah, I think that we need to learn to live from a state of grace, and be there for the other people that are suffering through this time. And that's the other thing. Had I not gone through my suffering, I wouldn't be able to identify it in someone else and be able to say, hey, did you try this? Hey, did you try this? Because healed people heal people. They just do.
Oh, I couldn't have said that better. I absolutely agree with that. And they can do that because they understand. It's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
just sympathy, but it's empathy. Like, I've walked that road. I understand what this feels like. Years ago, when my spiritual teacher was still alive, he said, Susan, the most powerful prayer you can pray with a clear and loving heart is to say, not my will, Lord, but thy will be done in and through me. And he said, once you say that without any restrictions and an openness, be prepared for your life to change on a dime. And over the years, I would try to pray that, and I wouldn't. I would get very close. No, my life is screwed up enough. I'm not prepared to have anything else happen. And I kind of pull back from it. It
Yeah.
took me years. And one day, very spontaneously, without even thinking about it, I was praying that prayer. And then I went, oh my God, I did it. I actually said that with an open, loving heart. In 48 hours, my life had changed. I had no job. I had left corporate America.
Wow.
I had started life as a professional astrologer. I mean, literally in 48 hours, I had a completely different life. But it
Wow.
probably took me 10 years to get to those 48 hours.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful thing you can do because you get out of your own way.
Yes.
And most of us are a little afraid, a little cautious, and we don't want to get out of our own way because we don't know where that road is going. But it is so, so powerful when you can do that. Yeah. And
100%.
both of us have experienced that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I must say, the other thing with this energy that's coming in, energy is neither good nor bad. It's defined by the user. Each and every one of us can use it in our own way and according to thy purpose, if you will, right? But it's gonna change us. These solar flares that are coming in and this anxiety that's coming out, and it's supposed to push this stuff to the surface so that it can be addressed and so it can be healed so that you can be that better version of yourself, and we're all I just think that we're all walking each other home on the path of life, and if we can be of service to each other, why not walk each other home?
Why not? I'm going to say this month, we not only have Saturn changing signs into a new sign, for the first time in our lifetime, we also have Pluto doing the same thing. Now,
Wow.
Pluto is a planet that moves very, very slowly. It takes well over a couple hundred years to go once around the chart into every sign. So
Wow.
none of us are more than 200 years old, I'm pretty sure. So none of us have experienced this before. This is brand new energy, not only for us on an individual level, but for our cities, our communities, our nation, and the world. None of us have lived through this before. This new energy, Pluto is going into the sign of Aquarius. Pluto is a sign of transformation. It's almost like the key word. They can often act as a catalyst. It is about power, and it's moving out of Capricorn. Capricorn is kind of solid. It's very clear. It's very boundaried, very restrictive, owns its authority very well. And so Pluto has been there for like 15 years and more. And so this is why we've seen the rise of more dictatorships. I'm in charge. Do what I say. But
Mm.
now this year, for the first time in our lifetime, we're seeing this very powerful planet move into a new energy. And Aquarius is completely different. Aquarius is a sign of equality, of freedom, of independence. And on a national, international level, say, don't tell me what to do. I want freedom. I want equality. I want to be treated better than this. We're not taking this anymore. So if
Mm.
you were the parents of a teenager, I feel for you because they're pretty rebellious anyway. And now you got this very rebellious Pluto and Aquarius energy coming in. I feel for you. Yeah. But in other ways, I love this energy because we as a world are not going to accept the status quo if it is not what we think is equitable or fair. We're going to see more marches in the streets, more demonstrations, more revolutions. Iran, my energy keeps going to Iran. I think they're going to experience some kind of revolution there or upheaval around women's rights. But we're going to see this in China. We're going to see this in Russia. I mean, these are pretty repressive societies. And we're going to see the population start to rebel. Now, this year, Pluto just puts its tiny little big toe, it's like pinky finger, into that sign. But we're going to feel it, even just the tiniest little bit, because it's so powerful. But understand that March, I was going to say January, but we'll say March technically, on March 24th is when Pluto enters the sign. And it's going to be there through the first half of this year, a little more chaotic than the second half. But in 2024, boom, it comes back and it hunkers down to stay. And so we're going to see many things that were begun this year, but didn't necessarily come to completion, or it got sidetracked. It comes back next year, and then it starts to go all the way. So I'm
Wow.
going to say, don't get discouraged if the changes that people watching are seeking to make go a little slower in the second half of this year. Don't get discouraged because the new energy comes back next year and it's off and running. It is going to the races. We're open to new ideas. We're open to new ways of thinking about things. And for people who feel stuck or aren't happy in some area of their life, it's like, oh, this is what I can do. Like a window opens, a door opens, and they start to see what they want to do. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do it that way. And I love this energy. I'm super excited about this coming in. It may be a little upheaval, but ultimately, I think this is wonderful. It moves us out of the old patriarchy system into a new system. And we're going to see this in every country. We're going to see this all over the world.
Wow.
Everybody's going to deal with this.
So, do you think that there will be a level of accountability that happens for what took place over the last 3 years? Do you think that we're going to see any sort of justice in that? And the reason why I ask is, just before you answer, like, I want to know if that's in the stars, because I do feel that truth is coming out now. I do feel that, you even look at what now is being said about China. When I was very first asked to remote view this, back at the very beginning of this, I said, this is man-made. This, because of the structure of what I saw, I knew that it was man-made. I knew that it leaked, whether it was on purpose, intentionally, made me wonder, simply because there is a much bigger agenda that's taking place than what we know. They're going to let us know this much, not the whole story, right? But it is now coming out that, it was man-made, it was lab leaked. But my thing is there anything in the stars that's going to hold these people accountable for what they've done to the world?
Yes and no. You have to remember, because Pluto moves so slowly and it stays in one sign for such a long time. Pluto enters Aquarius this year in 2023, but it doesn't leave this sign until the beginning of 2044.
Oh dear.
So we're talking about a couple of decades. So
Wow.
the answer to your question is yes. We will see more truth come out. We will see more accountability, but it's probably not going to be as quick as we like. In the United States, most of the world knows we had an insurrection and an uprising in 2020. And there's a sense here for me when I meditate on this and when I look at the astrology of this, that says this is the year that we start to see accountability, that we start to see justice for that we start to see it publicly. But you have to remember, there's been years of under the wire acting and thinking and trying to gather information to do that. The same thing happens with COVID and with China. I get the same thing you get. I get that it was man-made, that it was manipulated. And this is totally for entertainment purposes, folks, because I know nothing logically, It feels to me like they were trying to work on biological weapons, is why they were manipulating these strains, and it got away from them.
Yeah.
Take it for what you will. What do I know?
I 100%
But when I meditate, that's
agree.
what comes to me.
Yeah, I 100%
So
agree.
I also feel, and again, totally out of the mind of Susan, what she's getting in meditation, I feel like the health of it's is it Z or Zen? I'm not sure the name of. I'm not political enough to know the name of the premier in China. I do know the name Putin for the leader of Russia. I think both of those men have some health issues going on, and so sometimes that accountability happens in different ways than what we're thinking of. Sometimes that accountability does not happen in a court of law. It happens in other ways. I think both of them are fighting health battles this year. And I
Wow.
think that's going to take a toll on them. And I think it's going to sort of trickle down into their country as well. And so this is a year that not only do I think Putin realizes that invading Russia was the worst mistake of his career, invading Ukraine was the worst mistake of his career, and he keeps doubling down like, no, we're doing this, we're going to win. I don't think that happens. I think Ukraine ultimately triumphs. And I think Putin is looking for a way out to save his face, but I don't think he finds it. I don't think he sees how he can do that. So this is a difficult, challenging year for the leaders of Russia and China. So yes, I do think we'll see accountability, but maybe not in the way we think or on the timeline that we think. In the United States, I think there's more accountability that we see this year in 2023 and in 2024. I think we see more of that publicly. Yeah.
Good.
Do you get anything about that? Does that agree?
When do you guys go up for election again? Like when is
In 2024,
oh, it is next year.
next year.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's
Well,
next year.
all I when I look into it, I find, as I've said before, I find 2025 concerning, that year. And whether I'm picking up on a timeline that we can shift, that we can change, um, I'm praying so, but it feels global, whatever's going down in 2025. And I just think to myself, in this day and age, how are we still here? How are there wars? But then I also think to myself, okay, well, when I was born, the year I was born, there was 4.3 billion people on the planet. And now there's just under 9 billion. So it's like, oh yeah, you know, wars unfortunately take out big sums of people. And if this is where their minds are, you know, unfortunately, when you look at history, it's almost due for another world war. You know what I mean? And when you get people like Klaus Schwab talking about population control and it's a scary thought. Even with what happened, what was leaked, whether it was intentionally or not, what was the purpose of creating it to begin with? We have to ask ourselves, because there is such horrific technology out there that if it got into the hands of person with the button, that's very, very scary. That's a very scary thought, but it's almost like humanity is its own worst nightmare, and I just think that if we want to save this world, we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to be better. And even right down on a micro level, because every single one of us is part of the whole, right? We make up the collective consciousness. So if we're sitting in that state of bitterness and anger, even by ourselves, it leaks. It leaks into the people that are around you or the person who walks by you. It's contagious, right? And that's just one person. You look at now a country who's in pain. That resonates, that reverberates all across the world, of course, because we are all one, right? What we do to one, we do to all of us. We do to the least of us. So um, I think that in this day and age, these leaders and anyone who is promoting any sort of war should be very ashamed of themselves. Get out of the sandbox, go see a psychologist, go see someone who you can cry on their couch to, because I'm not putting my boys on the front line in no war. If you want to put 16-year-olds, by the way, I just found out that Poland, and there was like 3 countries altogether, they've just lowered their age of conscription to 16. 16, Susan, 16. What's going on there? Because I'm sorry, but a 16-year-old is a baby. Baby.
They're teenagers. They can't
I know.
even barely drive. Learner's permit behind a car, but we're going to give them a weapon.
Right? Are you going to give them a gun and a grenade? Like, where are these people's thinking? And unfortunately, these are our leaders. These are the leaders of the free world. Oh my God, we're in trouble, So I'm sorry, but like my youngest son is 22 and he's still a baby to me. There's just, you want to put kids on the front line, go ahead, put your offspring on the front line. You go take up that gun and you get on that front line. But how dare you expect my children or anybody else's children to do your fighting? That's just so archaic. It's not even funny. Like I actually get goosebumps getting worked up talking about it, because I can't believe we're still here. I can't believe this is still the narrative of this timeline. Like, when are people going to realize that killing doesn't solve anything? It just creates a lot of tears and heartache,
Thousands of years and we still haven't gotten that. I'm going to share with you, because I know you spend a lot of time in prayer, and so do I. And it's one of the most powerful things we as individuals can do. But I'm also going to say sometimes it's very discouraging. We're praying for world peace and we see wars breaking. We pray for our city and we see violence in the streets. And so we think our prayers aren't making a difference. I'm going to tell you something. When January 6th was happening in this country, it was on television, it was beamed into our living rooms, and I'm watching this just horrified at what's happening to our nation. And of course, I'm like everybody else in our country, I'm praying for peace and the safety of the people involved. And And January 6th ends, and I'm very discouraged about our nation and the world and why did this happen. And so I was in a time of meditation, and while I was in that meditation, my spirit guide came in, and I was told, Susan, the reason that that uprising did not succeed was because the prayers of the people of your country.
Wow.
What is shown to us on television is often the worst. This is what happened. This oil spill happened. This war broke out. This person was assassinated. This insurrection happened. They show us the worst because those are the big headlines. But we often don't realize the power of our prayer and the power of what that is. And so don't ever, ever, ever underestimate or think that your lone single voice doesn't matter, because it does. And even if you don't have a spirit guide coming in and telling you what your prayer did, I'm going to tell you it made a difference.
Moves mountains. Definitely, definitely.
Yes.
So when do things get a little smoother? When do things kind of calm down?
Well, not this month. I don't know if that's good or not so good, but this month there's going to be a lot of upheaval, a lot of change, a lot of what the heck is, we may see some big headlines on television. The first half of this year, much more chaotic, much more unstable, many more things going on. The second half of 23, things do seem to calm down. Now, in some ways, that's not, I can take a breath, the world makes sense again. Some people may be frustrated. I was working on this project, things were moving, I was going along, and I hit a wall. But it gives us this, 6 months at the end of this year, gives us a chance to regroup. It gives us a chance to think things through. Gives us a chance to tweak things, to look at how can I do this better? What do I need to know? How do I need to work on this? So even if it's a little bit frustrating, ultimately it's to our benefit. Now this month, I mentioned we have Saturn changing signs. We have Pluto changing signs. We also have Mars changing signs. And Mars is a forceful planet. Mars, the god of war. Mars is very direct. I don't like you, I'm punching you in the nose. No, let's talk about it. Mars is forceful and it's dynamic, and it can be a little aggressive, very courageous. And for the last 8 months, it has been in the sign of Gemini. And Gemini is how we communicate, how we speak, all the avenues of communication, how we Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and how we use our computers and our phones and what kind of language we say. So all of us on a personal level may have been a bit more assertive in what we say. These last 8 months may have been a good time to say, you know what? I have something to say. I'm going to start my own YouTube station. I'm going to get a website. I'm going to speak up in meetings. I'm going to promote myself, because Gemini is very good at helping us do that. But for certain signs, it could be a bit more challenging. I'm going to say, and I don't mean to be picking out different signs because I always like to do all 12 if I'm going to mention anything specifically, but I'm going to mention Cancer has had a very challenging last 7 months. Because this Mars has fallen in their chart in a way that sort of throws a big bucket of water over that fiery planet. So Cancers have been a little bit more physically tired, And so if you're the parent of a Cancer child, you've heard your kids say, I'm tired, I don't want to do that, and I can't get up to go to school, I don't feel good. Very whiny kind of energy, I'm just telling you. But they're also legitimately tired because they have not had access to this energy. Old wounds come up, old griefs have come up, emotional trauma has come up, but it has come up so that they can deal with it and heal it. On the 26th of this month, Mars is going to leave the sign of Gemini. Now, Geminis have been going like gangbusters with this energy. They've had this Mars pushing them. Oh yeah, let me land this account. I'm going to expand my territory and let me start my own business and start a second job. Geminis have been loving this energy. Cancers have been hating this energy. And welcome to astrology. It's always doing something that helps one sign and doesn't help the other sign. So come the 26th, Gemini is going to lose that little engine that keeps pushing them to do more. So
Mm.
they may hit a little roadblock or they may slow down on a few things. But Cancer feels like the door got open and they got let out of prison. Oh my God, I have energy again. I can do things again. I'm feeling better. They turn a corner. And so now, as Mars enters Cancer, what is going to happen is Cancer is going to start to be the little engine that could. And
Oh,
so Cancer is going to start to do this. Yeah. And enjoy this. And good for them. Everybody's got their turn in the wheelbarrow. All the planets are always doing things that will give you a gift or smack you in the head, one or the other. So we're going to start to see for March, April, and May, Mars is going to be in Cancer. This means that you may be spending more time with family. All the signs, you may be spending more time with family. There may be more family disagreements going on, but there may also be more energy there around home because Cancer rules the home. So you may decide you want to buy a home or remodel your home or buy a vacation home or sell a piece of property. These next 3 months, we're going to see a lot of changes in the real estate market. I don't know if they're going to be good or bad. I think they're going to be strong. I think we're going to notice them. I think this year we're going to start to see real estate prices come down a little bit. And isn't that kind of nice?
I
We're
hope
going to start to see some changes in the stock market in these 3 months. I think we see the stock market drop some, and then October. Those are the 4 months this year where I think the stock market is a little tender, or I'd be a little bit more cautious kind of thing.
so. Okay.
Yeah. All the signs may find themselves eating more because Cancer rules food. And Mars is impulsive. I want the ice cream. I want a piece of cake. Let me learn how to bake bread, So yeah, we may see, oh, for sure, grocery prices are going to go up, for March, April, and May. Sorry, stock up on what you want now,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's part of what's going on.
Mhm.
But, and I tell this to my clients all the time, just because an energy or a planet may be doing something that's challenging for the nation or the world or in the community, doesn't mean you can't use it well.
Mm.
Doesn't mean that we can't decide, I'm going to take that energy and you know what? I'm going to freshen my home up and paint the walls and create a beautiful space for me to feel comfortable. On a personal level of how we use that is where we have the power. We
Mhm.
might not be able to change the leadership of China or Russia or Iran, but we can change our own world. And
Yeah.
that's what I like about this coming in. So
Aw.
yeah, big time stuff. Yeah. March especially. I think we're going to see some big headlines,
Mm.
but I don't necessarily think they're horrible headlines. I just think they may surprise us, take
Wow.
us, oh, that happened, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember asking you at the beginning of this, isn't it March that usually goes in like a lion and out like a lamb? And you said
It's
March.
going in like a lion and it's staying there.
Yes, yes. And I do. I have to agree because the months that I can feel the energetic surge is March, April, May, June, and then July, August, September feel a little bit slower or a little bit more at ease, where it's not so uptight and this, go, go, go energy. Almost like in the summer, it'll kind of slow down a little bit, our perception of time, because there really is no such thing as time, and that's why it seems to be going so fast right now. It's literally where we're at and our perception of it, right, that moves the clock. But yeah, I think in the summer we'll get a little bit of a reprieve. And then where I feel like when I'm checking the energy of the months, I can feel October, November, December starting to go down again, where it gets heavier and harder and not as fun. So enjoy your summer, people, because the fall does feel a little bit heavier, but heavier isn't necessarily bad, like you were saying. It's what we do with it that matters. Even if it's something like job loss. Well, what did they just free you from? How can you create a better reality? Because honestly, the best thing I ever did was leave nursing and open up my own business. There's no greater feeling than the freedom of being able to be in charge of your calendar and your schedule, right? So yeah, I think it's all in how we view it. But a lot of people don't like change. So instantly they view it as negative without
They
thinking,
don't.
yeah, what's going to come of this?
But I think that's one of the joys, uh, your work and my work. And one of the reasons people come to see you or me, they're looking at, what do I need to be aware of? How can I use this? Because
Mhm.
when we talk to somebody about something, and I may say, well, over here these months, you may struggle a little bit, but here's where it gets better.
Mhm.
Because when we're going through something difficult or painful, we forget what it feels like to feel good. We
Yeah.
think we're always going to feel like that. Oh, I hate my job. My boss sucks. This is horrible. We just don't see any ends in sight.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like, oh, but Susan said it was going to get better by May, so I can hang on. Or Patricia said the summer was going to be fine. It's going to improve.
Mhm.
Once we sort of know those kinds of things, it empowers us. We don't feel as helpless and at the mercy of buffeting crazy energies that don't make any sense.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I'll have clients coming, you said it'd be over by July. It's July 1st. It's not over. Okay, chill, take a breath, give it a little time.
Yeah.
It's been July 1st for 6 minutes, like hang on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But even sometimes you just knowing things are going to be better.
Mhm.
And it's very joyful for us to work in a profession that helps people find their own sense of empowerment.
Yes, for sure. Well, and it's great to be able to give people the tools, the heads up, because knowledge really is power, and just for to prepare and like I said, yeah, give them the tools to be able to get through it. I think that's the toughest thing. Life is going to smack us upside the head. It's also going to embrace us and love us and propel us forward. We are the totality, the all of it, but it's praying for the strength to get through it and praying for the wisdom to be able to make the proper choices through the confusion and through the cloudiness. But yeah, I think we're getting there. Humanity is waking up. Bit by bit, we are waking up. And I think that on an individual scale and on a collective scale, the light has already won. We're just watching the remnants play out.
When I first became interested in astrology and spiritual growth and metaphysics, it was in the 1980s. There was no
Wow.
Sylvia Brand, there was no John Edward, there was, you didn't talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to join some kind of group that was engaged in spiritual development, you had to know somebody who knew somebody. You had to knock 3 times and ask for Joe. Like it wasn't talked about. It wasn't open. And I have seen so many changes in these last few decades. And now people will openly on talk shows talk about, oh, well, my psychic said this. I was talking to my astrologer and they said that. And I'm like, whoa. When did that start to become acceptable and nobody's pointing fingers and laughing or think you have a low IQ because you do that?
Yeah.
And I have read for millionaires and billionaires, and I
Mhm.
tell people all the time, you don't know. Your CEO's 3 o'clock appointment sitting out there in the office waiting for them with a briefcase may be their astrologer or their psychic. Because you can use astrology for a
Yeah.
business, just like you can use it for people. If it
Yeah.
has a birth, if it has a coming into being, you can
Mhm.
run a chart for it and you can see, oh, this is a good time to expand it. Here's where you might want to cut back. And, and I've got a lot of clients that use that for their business to
Wow.
make good, down to earth, professional decisions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's just what you said. It's about having the right tools. And when
Yeah.
you have the right tools, you make better decisions. You're less frightened, you're more aware, you're more empowered. I will also say, because I almost forgot to mention this, is that every month I send out a newsletter and it tells you where the new moon is going to be for that month and where the full moon is going to be for that month. And I tell you what sign it's going to be in. And I mention ways you can use this to help yourself. Ways that you need to watch out, don't go over there. You might want to use it better over here. And so it's free. I don't charge anything for this. If you want to receive this, just sign up for my mailing list and I will be happy to send it to you. Thinking about this because it's March 1st and I just sent it out for this month for March.
Well, and what's your
Yeah.
website so that they can sign up? How do they get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah. Good point. Thank you for reminding me. I'm a good astrologer, not nearly as good, good a professional person or social media person. My website is exploreastrology.com, and I'm Susan Reynolds. And on my website every month, I put out predictions for every sign. So like, this is what's going on with Aquarius for March, or this is what Taurus should expect. And again, it's free. I don't charge anything for it. You can just go to my website and look up your own sign. And if you know your moon sign or you know your rising sign, I would look those up as well, because they're all going to have an influence. So
Yeah.
you can go and you can check it out, and you can see what's what and find out what the moon is doing. And every month be a little bit more empowered for what's going on in your life that month.
Yeah, it's nice.
And
It's
especially
definitely
this month.
nice to know what to expect in the months ahead. Absolutely. And Susan, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining me again. I hope we can make this like a monthly, okay, this is what to expect in the month ahead. I would love to do that with you because, like I said, I do remote viewing and psychic predictions. I know nothing about astrology, so hopefully, I can learn a little bit from you about the stars. And I remember from last one, Mars is the war month. I remember that. But and yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm totally fascinated by all of this because I do see the correlation, and that's why I asked. Was like, okay, I'm picking this up. How is that presenting in the stars? What are you picking up on that? Because it's nice to be able to see that it's happening upstairs in the stars and down here on Earth. That we're not losing our minds here in
No,
this realm.
I
So
love knowing that you're getting the same things I'm seeing in the planets, you're receiving yourself, because we're sort of a double check for each other.
yeah,
Like,
totally.
we may come to it from different modalities, but we get to the same place. And that's always so interesting to me. See, oh, this planet's saying this. Well, yeah, I picked up this. And once again, we match up. Yes, yes. Touch base with me. I would love to come, and we can talk about each month and what to expect and what's going on, and go from there. Open that door wide. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And for anyone who wants to get a hold of me, I also have a monthly newsletter that goes out on the 11th of the month at 11:11, and that's full of good little advice and all of my upcoming workshops and classes and retreats and everything. So I guess I should mention that. I've never really mentioned that in any of my videos. So for me, it's just my name, patriciamona.com, and you can find me. And Susan, it is exploreastrology.com, you said?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again here today. And Susan, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, my friend, for joining us and making this possible. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. God bless, my friend.